I have returned from a long adventure. Long adventure, a few days. I needed to sort some behind the scenes stuff out, but here I am tonight, back at it, back to streaming, back to normal. Welcome to the Condor DM show. Tonight I'm covering Over the Edge. I have a thing for conspiracy theory games, I guess, tabletop role playing games. I have played and ran quite a few of them. Um, in many ways, you'll find conspiracy theories all over games, but ones that are specifically focused on it and sort of seem to pick up on the trend. This one just before shows like the X-Files came out, right? There was a trend happening. There was something leaning in that direction, and it got started in 1992, so just before. So welcome to the Condor DM show. Make yourself at home. Here I am tonight. We're going to talk about the game Over the Edge. Over the Edge. Over the Edge, baby. Another conspiracy theory game that used the D6 pool system. Like you think about like rolling, instead of rolling like say success is like burning wheel, you're rolling for a total. So say it's like if you have no skill at something, if you're not good at something, it's like you're rolling 2d6 and it would be against like a target number. Target number could be like 8 or 9, 10, whatever. And then even how much you succeed over the thing can sometimes even improve your success. Right? So say the target number is a 7, you roll an 11 or something like that. Just say that's 4 points over the target number. It can be like an improved outcome. But a pool number, and there'd be bonuses, and the way the bonus would be applied would be strange. Say you were competent at something, but you had a bonus applied. Competent means you're 3d6, but if you get a bonus, you'd be given like a 4d6 roll. But you still only count 3d6. But here's what happens: you'll roll the 4d6, and the top 3 out of the 4 dice are the ones you can count. So if you rolled a 1, you can dismiss it and just take the higher numbers, right? If it's a negative, you might say be competent at something, you'd be like at 3d6. A negative will give you another dice, and you're like, well, wait, you mean I get 4d6 against this? Yes, but now you got to take the lowest of the 3 dice for the game. Say you roll a 1 and roll a 6. Well, you're dismissing the 6. You're counting the 1 as part of your total. That's how you're going to take the hit. Strangely, you can also do this thing called botch, where if you roll all 1s, it's not good. There's also like extreme critical success if you roll all 6s. The other way around. So that's and it's a unique damage system. A unique one. Very unique, to be honest. Go through some notes here just to make sure I'm going to get this right. I haven't done this game or Ghostbusters in a long time, but I've been back to getting ready to run some of this again. And D6, okay, so think about it like this. Your damage is, say, times the number, right? So it'd be like if you're an attacker in this game, there can be target numbers, but there can also be the defender. The defender can actually roll against you. So here would be an example. You say you rolled a 15, defender rolls a 12, you succeed it by 3. Okay, so the damage, say, for the weapon you're using, say for a gun or something, might be times 3. Well, that would be, because it's 12, take away from 15 is 3. 3 is going to be your initial starting point of damage. Let's say it's times 3 for the weapon. Now it's 3 times 3 makes that 9 damage. I mean, there can be other aspects to it, like soaking up so much and stuff like that, right? But when you're rolling to attack in the game and over the edge, it's you're rolling, and then it's the number you're when you succeed, the number that's coming off of your number is the one that failed. So it could be like, say you roll like a 14, the person rolls a 10, that's 10 off. Again, say it's times 3 for the weapon, that's 3 times 4, which is going to equal 12. That's 12 damage. There you go. Unarmed might, it's like, I think it's like times 1, meaning it'd just be like that 3 damage would be it for your punch or something, right? There you go. Like, I haven't ran with the system since the 90s, but when I was getting prepared for this, I made sure to go back over the mechanics again and get reused to them. And then I did Burning Wheel recently, which is a similar take on the pool thing, where you're definitely going to try to come up with ways to get additional dice onto your roll. And this can be done in the game. And so you're always looking for ways to benefit yourself in a situation. Uh, but yeah, it's usually target number is usually reasonable, or within the range of 3d6 on average. Right there, you go, over the edge. Mechanic system up front. Well, a little bit of it. We'll go over more details later, but I figure I'd get that out of the way. It's like, well, you want to know about the dice? Here's the dice. I'm back. Woo! I'm feeling good. Like, I'm feeling ready to get like back into just consistent streaming. Did I need the days off? Well, leading up to the weeks where a bunch of stuff happened all at once, I was fine. It was the activities getting in the way of streaming that became a real problem. I've had a couple weeks of doing a bunch of adjusting in, like, just needing to go back to doing certain activities, go back to situations. And I also had like a sort of shock surprise visit from family and stuff like this. The combination of days where it was taking me away from streaming just happened to all happen consistently. And it just got to the point where I knew there was another at least night or two of me needing to do stuff. So I figured, you want to know what? I'll just call the streaming off and come back at the 29th, because then I'm done all the adjusting and there should be no surprise visits. And I feel like, good, very good. And Over the Edge, another conspiracy tabletop role playing game. One that's definitely worth hearing about, right? The fluff, the setting, and we'll go into the mechanics of it. I mixed some advice this time into some of the different areas of the game we'll be talking about, so pay attention if you ever want to try these things. Over the Edge, or go back to the original Ghostbusters. The D6 dice pool is interesting. Always interesting. There's no class or levels to this game. Like, no classes and no levels. There's a lot of games out there that are like that, especially old school, where the improvement is very minimal, because really it's more about the activity of playing the game than it is about improving so you can keep going up a notch. It's like there's a million ways to do different things at the scale that you're at, and a lot of games out there will accept that that's good enough. And old school games, you got to remember, when you're looking at old school games, you're like, man, this one, it doesn't take you. Consider all the conversations you hear today about stimulation and everything, right? Think about a market back in like the early 80s that is still so new and so raw that it doesn't a lot of designers, people doing things, are not really considering this stuff. Stimulation of level increases. Not saying nobody's talking about it, but you just got to remember a lot of designers are just in saying, well, there might be people that like it, but there's people that like this too, and just not realizing how small the overall part of the market was for certain other ideas. And we have a hobby that you got to be careful with the customer base when you're listening to them, because in the tabletop role playing game hobby, and I'm being dead serious. Now, this is true in other areas of life, but it's so true here. Is the minorities really do have the loudest voices? I mean, minority opinion people, like, oh, they like this thing, but that only speaks for a small percentage of people in the overall hobby. They will be the loudest voice in the room, on the internet, making the videos, making the post on X. The loudest voices will be the people that are, I'd almost have to say, unhappy. It's what burns the passion for them to sort of say something. Of course, when you're, and this is true of all of us, including me, of course, there's things I'm unhappy with when it comes to gaming and the gaming hobby. So I voice that because it drives me, right? So I think it's just true with everyone that if you're satisfied with your gaming, you'll be more silent. You will be gaming. It's as simple as that. The happiest people in the room are usually not the ones with YouTube channels. Planet, tell us. I'm here to tell you, baby. I'm here to tell you. Good evening, Black Rose. It's going to be a good one. Another conspiracy theory game. I'll explain this again. So we'll go over the mechanic system one more time. At least the dice system, the basic dice system. Say you're like performing on your traits or skills or whatever, or just something you're not skilled at. So say you're not competent at doing something. You have no skill, you have no talent for it. There is a dice roll for you. It's 2d6. And you'll be rolling against the target number. It's a lot harder, but you'll add the 2d6 up. It's not based on successes, right? So it's not like 1 or 2 successes. It'd be like if you roll a 5 and a 6, you get an 11. 11 is a pretty high target number to hit. You could potentially hit it with 2 dice. If you're competent with something, you'll use 3 dice against the target number, a low target number like that. And here's a strange bonus and negative system they put into the game. So say you get a bonus, you pitch really well what you're doing, and the game master is going to give you a bonus for your action. They'll give you an extra d6. Now, you could potentially get extra rolls and extra dice and other things, but just say you're getting this bonus. So it's like 4d6. So say you roll them and you roll like a 1, 2 3s, and a 6. Well, you drop the 1. You only ever get to add, you'll only ever get, in this circumstance, only get to add 3 dice. So you drop the 1, you add 3, 3, and 6 together. If you're getting a negative, here's what's weird. You'll get a 4th dice again. But say you did that roll again, the 1, 3, 3, 6. Now you drop the 6, and you got to keep the 1 if you're getting a negative. If you roll all 1s, that's considered a botch, and something, very negative could happen. If you're going into combat, many times you're rolling against not a target number, but against another dice roll. So it might be like, say the defender rolls a 10 and you rolled a 14 on your attack. That would give you, well, first off, let's go back to the skill rolls. When you do roll above, so say there was a target number of 9 and you roll like, say, a 13, that's 4 points above, and that can actually improve your outcome. So the higher you roll over the target number, especially using skills, the better the outcome. But when you get to combat, so say you roll a 14 attacking and the defender rolls a 10 against you. Well, that 10 will soak up some of the potential damage that you're spitting out. That attack roll is really a damage number. So 10 off of 14 leaves 4. And this is how damage works. Your fist is times 1. So that would be like basically what it means is it looks at the 4 and says, that's good enough. It's going to be 4 damage punching somebody. So you did that. If you're using a weapon, it doesn't have like a specific dice for the damage, but it will have a times table. So say it'd be like the knife times 2, and you roll the 14 versus the 10. You take 10 off of 14, 4. It'd be 4 times 2. That's 8 damage with the knife. If you get an even better weapon that says like times 3, well, it's times 3 that 4. And other things can potentially soak up damage, but that's just the basic of how the damage works. The math between the defender and the attacker is done. If the attacker has overscored, that number is going to be on a times table. And it can either be fist, that means it just be like, say, 13 over 10, that's 3 left over after 10 is taken off 13. It'd be 3 damage with the fist. With the knife at times 2, it'd be 6. With a better weapon at times 3, it'd be 9 damage. And it's the old Ghostbuster D6 system. To a degree. That's a starting point. There's a dice system for Over the Edge, a conspiracy theory game that came out in 1992, just before X-Files, and was smart enough to see there was something there. There was definitely an audience for the conspiracy theory stuff going on, but I don't know. Yeah, the Ghostbuster game that I've covered already. It's pretty much that. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It can take a moment to explain to people. I find it better to be very plain Jane about the explanation. Yeah, here's how I try to teach game masters to teach players a little better about the game. Teach the basics. Do not worry about every overcomplication being explained. Just understand, how does it actually play out in the game? Like if you were to give a basic explanation, that's a lot of times when you're trying to explain things to people, it's better to go down that road starting at that point and then go into technical stuff, because once a person understands the basic system, it's like getting on that base level. Everything else starts making more sense. It's easier to apply the complication to what you already know than to try to learn the entire process with the complication being explained at the same time. So a lot of guys, when they're explaining these things, the problem is they're explaining complications mixed into the explanation of things, and they'll get into a game and a guy will like mess up or do it wrong. Well, it's you want to know the basics, and then everything else just sort of follows. Easier, faster, quicker, better. So what I just explained to you, is there other complications in the game if you get down to the nitty gritty? Yes, but on just the basic of gameplay, from attacking and defending to the damage you do to the how you use skills, everything is accurate. That's how we'll play it. Is there other complications in that? Yes, but I'm just not going to worry about them. I'll let people read. It doesn't change what I just explained to you. Pretty much what I explained to you is what you'll be doing during the game. So you're good. And to me, if as a player you're satisfied with the explanation I gave you for dice rolling for this game, you'll have no problem with enjoying the game. Like, at least on the dice rolling aspect. I guess if that's a stickler point for you, which it is for some. Some people have a big issue about certain dice rolling systems, so I don't know. If you're okay with D6s, adding some dice up, you're good to go. It's good to be back. I had 2 more days where I needed more stuff to do and then just sort myself out. So it's good to be back and feeling like just 100% like from where I was. And it wasn't that I was normally tired of, but it was weird missing out on the streams and having to do so much in a short period of time, which was planned for the end of September, which is I was going to pause my streaming for a few weeks. So everything I've been doing for the last like 2 weeks here, I was supposed to do at the end of September, but I'm doing it like a month early. So, but unexpectedly. But it's one of those things where it's like if they're going to ask me to do it, I'll do it, right? It's like okay, yeah, well, all right, fair enough. I got to do it now. And my issue is trying to do what I could do in the midst of chaos of not knowing what was going to be tomorrow. And that's it kept going where, yeah, I'm going to stream tonight. Hey, we need you to do this. Oh, okay. Well, they're going to stream me. I can't stream and get that done. So I finally stopped struggling a few days ago and just said, well, you want to know what? I'm just going to cut this off until the 29th. And I know for people in the content world, the audience and that can feel like a long time. And so I did my best to do some filler content in between, put some stuff out, be nice, appease people as best I could. I hope you're happy with what I've been putting out, which was some members only stuff. I think was good on the Lackmar, the Grey Moser stuff, the details there. My second look at OD&D and Beck Me Basic. A lot of valuable stuff there if you don't know just details, because it's not like you'll never go one place and find out everything about the old school or even old school D&D. And there are some concepts that are in books that the concepts are great, but one of the main reasons they're forgotten is the book will be talked about or something, but the issue itself doesn't get much airtime. Good stuff, Black Rose. It's gonna be good. I'm happy to be on early tonight. I sort of figure part of getting back to doing this is getting on early. It is hot, I'll tell you. It's not hot where I'm at right now. Like it's cool because I'm cool. I'm completely cool down. So it's not like burning hot now, but it's been hot all day, and I'm making sure I'm in a more nice place. But burning hot weather like this is going to be cutting back soon. So expect more standing up. I just hate, man. It's like because my place can be a bit like an oven at times. I'm between two places where I live. There's a lot of heat up and down, like a sandwich where I'm at. So that's good. It's good for the cold days, but for this time of the year, it's sort of weird. It's like it can overheat where I'm at, and so standing up in an oven can be quite challenging. It's not fun. Not fun, baby. Not fun. Hey, what's up, Bill? Going to be a good game tonight. Conspiracy theory over the edge. Yes, yes. And now that I'm back and we're back to breathing, baking a cake's good. And that we're back to normalcy. Hope you guys liked the recent thumbnail I used. I thought that was clever. So streams coming up tomorrow. I'm going to be covering, yes, 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons in the setting Eberron. They are so connected. I figured I cover them both as sort of a connected gimmick. Now, you guys know I don't cover every detail, like with second edition, even AD&D and OD&D and BECME. I purposely leave out a lot of side stuff to cover later, like being able to take a second look at the OD&D and the BECME all at the same time. I do that on purpose so I have content to do later on this stuff. I'm going to look at third edition, the core. Just the core third edition, right? The way I would want people to sort of look at 2E personally. I'm a 2E person, and over 90% of guys that I've met who's ever ran 2E mostly stuck to the core books, other than borrowing what you could adapt into the core from the splat books, but not really adapting rules, like ignoring most of them. So to me, it's when people judge 2E as it's the totality of books surrounding it, I think it's an unfair way of looking at the game because that's not how people actually experience it. Dungeons and Dragons 3E, I'm going to look at the core and then popular like host rules, and that definitely I'll consider like taking a look at. I get some notes on them, and then look at the setting Eberron. I just figured they're so helping wife with her yard work. I hear that they're so connected, the setting in that, and there's not a lot of WotC settings that I care for outside of what isn't already a copy of TSR stuff. Uh, yeah, so Eberron seems pretty unique. Taking a look at that, and then on the 31st, I will be doing the members only Most Guard role playing game. Look forward to that, man. I have that ready to go, that whole thing. And then we'll be doing off script, and I'll be covering the game mechanics for Land of the Rising Sun and Dawn Patrol. Now, to sort of get back to it, there'll be another members only on September 3rd, and that will be Conan and Rid Sonya modules that were made by TSR. Now, here's what some people are going to be happy about. I definitely know two people, Zeg and people. Cyberpunk 2020. And then the next couple members only I'm doing is Mutants and Masterminds on September 9th, and then Keep on the Borderlands on September 10th. After that, on September 12th, I'll be covering the game Knights of the Round Table. On September 15th, I'll be doing off script, and the game mechanics I'll be covering will be Wizard's Realm and Doctor Who role-playing game. I'll be covering members only that week, 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons, just the core. And then open to all on the 19th of September, I'll be covering the game Ardawan. The next members only stream I'll be doing after that is Aces and Eights. And then I'll be doing 2 members only streams for D&D, which is the Castle Guide from AD&D 2nd edition. I'll be covering that. And that will be on the 24th. On the 25th, I'll be covering the book of Vile Darkness for 3E Dungeons and Dragons. The last game I'll be covering in September on the 26th will be the tabletop role-playing game Bubblegum Crisis. And the last stream of September will be on the 29th, and it'll be off script, and I'll be covering the game mechanics for Attack of the Humans and Men in Black. Oh, the tabletop role-playing game world is crazy. And there's a lot of craziness out there. And just sort of getting back to balancing out what is open for the public. So public streaming is my Saturday stream for games, and guaranteed on Tuesdays. That will be all. So every Saturday and Tuesday is public streaming. And on Tuesday, even if you're not a member here, you can actually take part in chat in the game mechanics conversation. There you go. Trying to give opportunities to everyone so somebody can try out the chat, and if they like it here and they like the interaction, they can join up, they can sub to the channel, and they can be part of every chat going forward. And if they want to become members, yes, become a member, because there's a lot of member content going forward, right? It's just how it works. I mean, it doesn't mean at one point some member content doesn't appear somewhere or clips aren't clipped out, but it's that initial stream itself is for people to interact with me live that are supporting me, right? And people that get opportunities. I'll be doing that at least once a month, having a night there for I give out some trial memberships. So it probably be smart to pay attention for those nights. I'll announce them nights that I'll be doing the thing. You can do them once a month, and I'll give out the max, what I'm allowed to give out, what I can give out during the stream. So be smart to be there. But yeah, be smart to be there. And make sure, as one person found out recently, that you are able to receive a gift membership. I appreciate that, Bill, and I will always work hard for you guys. Uh, but yes, always appreciate the thumbs up, the people giving me the quarter in the hat gimmick. I appreciate it when you appreciate the time and the music and the content I'm putting out here. If you get what I'm saying, um, it's sort of the way I look at it. It's like it's very much appreciated. If you want, you can share the stream on other social media platforms or wherever you want, or you can share the video once it's up and completed. We are going to start coverage of the game. I mean, if you guys are, well, two of you are here. So after I'm done this, we'll start coverage of Over the Edge. Over the Edge. And with a change in life, here's another thing. I might have to actually permanently starting streams slightly earlier than the allocated 8 o'clock that I usually put up just to play safe. Because yeah. definitely invest in a potentially another cat, or you consider a dog. I live in one of the only places where you can actually get a dog. You actually have a dog here. Most places you can't, where I'm at now, most places will not accept a cat, let alone a dog. Like you can't have a pet at all. Old school owner doesn't care. Just doesn't care. But not just for the cat, man. I promise the content is wonderful. And we're going to get into some of it right now. Right now. Okay. Listen away, baby. Listen away. I'm here to perform. Okay. All right. So let's begin. Over the Edge, first edition, 1992. That's what I'm going to be covering tonight. This is the first area we're going to focus on is influences and birth of the game. Jonathan Tweet before Over the Edge. Before creating Over the Edge, Jonathan Tweet was already responsible for one of the more innovative RPGs in the 1980s. I covered the D6 dice mechanic already several times, DK, so that's in here. That's in here. Right now, we're right at the start of the normal coverage, but the dice system I made sure to plug a few times. D6, 2d6 if you're not competent, 3d6 if you are. Potentially more if you get a bonus 4d6, but a negative gives you 4d6 too. But you take the lowest if it's negative. You take the highest if it's a bonus. If it's attack and defending, it's attack roll, say 14 versus defender rolls a 10, 4 left over, 10 off of 14. Your punches do times 1, so that would be 4 damage because it's 10 off of 14 leaves 4. If you have a knife or a better weapon, it could be higher times, like times 2, which that 4 becomes 8, or if it's times 3, that 4 becomes 12. Blah, blah, blah. Basic. Damage is just that. And when you succeed in high numbers, because you're adding up a total, it's not successes. So it'd be like 3d6, and say the target number is 9, you roll a 13. Well, it's 4 points above. The higher you get when you're performing skills can mean the skill actually played out better. And if you roll all 1s, it's a major botch. If you roll all 6s, whoo, that's good for you, baby. There you go. Quick skim over the dice system once again. Jonathan Tweet before Over the Edge. Before creating Over the Edge, Jonathan Tweet was already responsible for one of the more innovative RPGs in the 1980s. Tweet and Mark Ryan Hagen had co-designed Ars Magica, which I covered recently. First published in 1987, the game experimented with ideas that would become increasingly important during the following decade. Oh yeah. 100%. Takes a minute to explain. I always find it easier to give the basics on explanation, and then just any complications further than that goes into the role. It's like, well, let me get you understanding this part. And that's true for most games. Leave complications out, like things where you're like, well, it's sort of like that. Well, sort of like that is exactly what most people up front need to know. Like, basically, how does it work? Okay, so there's other complications. Yeah, but you know how it works now? Yes, that's the best way to teach. Characters with strong identities and unusually developed setting, troop style play, and mechanics built around what characters could actually do within the world. So this is coming off that important during the following decade. Characters with strong identities, an unusually developed setting, troop style play, mechanics built around what characters could actually do within the world. These are the guys coming off of building Ars Magica. But by around 1990, Tweet believed he had essentially left the professional RPG industry. He returned to Quad Cities area and took a job selling mutual funds. That situation became enormously important to Over the Edge because Tweet wasn't initially designing a commercial RPG. He was making a game for himself and his friends. Tweet later explained, I first designed Over the Edge strictly for personal use because he wasn't worried about whether publishers or customers would accept his ideas. He felt free to discard RPG conventions that didn't serve the game he wanted to run. That freedom became the foundation for Over the Edge. And this is where DK would say it's a smoother game because of because of this approach, right? An unknown indie RPG. One of the more mysterious influences on Over the Edge was another RPG whose identity has apparently been lost. Tweet later recalled it was in turn inspired by an unknown indie game that someone taught me at a con. The important thing is not to assign a title to this game when Tweet himself did not identify it. What it demonstrates is that Tweet had encountered someone else's small, unconventional RPG design, had seen firsthand that role-playing didn't necessarily require the elaborate structures common to major commercial RPGs. That experience became one ingredient in his own experiment. Basically, these guys, their minds are so into game design that they forget how easy all this can be performed. And I think what happened with him there was a part of restructuring this from what he did with Ars Magica was, and he talks about this. This is actually, in my opinion, important to the whole history of the game. Is he runs into this very simple way of playing, like, oh wow, you could just start playing and like make shit up. Yeah. It actually works. Yeah. Like, imagine someone who thinks something is going to be no good, and they try it and they realize this is amazing. And on top of realizing they think something is amazing, they start wanting to help people achieve that amazing thing. The central design problem. Tweet wanted something extremely easy to introduce to new players. His experience with more elaborate fantasy settings demonstrated a problem. A detailed fictional world could provide enormous depth once players understood it, but the same depth could become a barrier when somebody first sat down to play. A newcomer might need to understand the setting before they could even determine what sort of character made sense. Over the Edge attacked that problem from the opposite direction. Start somewhere the players already understand. The contemporary world. Cars exist, guns exist, telephones exist, hotels, corporations, governments, criminals, doctors, and tourists exist. Players don't require a fictional history lesson to understand these things. Then make that recognizable world as strange as imagination permits. That allowed Tweet to combine immediate accessibility with almost unlimited weirdness. It's going to relatability, which is so important to games, period. Like, here's what video game makers have realized is your experience with the game when you're learning compared to when you know, uh, at least not know like you're good. I'm not talking about being good at the game, but knowing the game. Like there's a competence to what you're doing because you have a better understanding. That first day when you put that thing down, stupid move. Now you know not to put the thing down, right? It's knowledge and understanding. The better somebody understands a game, the better chance they'll enjoy it and want to stay with it. So I think that's one thing why D&D is quite effective because it's an easy game to understand and know things and pick up things pretty quickly. There has to be some form of relatability in what you're doing. Character concept before character system. The rules follow the same philosophy. Instead of providing a long list of predefined attributes, classes, and skills, Over the Edge allowed players to describe their characters using free-form traits. The first edition's character structure revolved around one central trait, two side traits, and a flaw. The important innovation was the game generally wasn't telling the player choose one of these 30 skills. The player could instead define what was important about the character. A trait could represent an occupation, ability, background, unusual power, or a defining concept. The character therefore began with who is this person rather than which option on the character sheet am I allowed to select. That was unusually free-form approach to a mainstream commercially published RPG in 1992. Freeform is just realizing how freely you could make stuff up on the spot and turn it into something amazing. How randomness like that could make amazing things, and how realistically a game designer, when they step out and they get into an environment where they see people doing this, they'll realize it doesn't take a genius to do this stuff, to think this way, to be in a group that communicates well. And you realize that a greater portion of the customer base could potentially want this and be able to do it. Rules, light, and dice pool influences. Over the Edge didn't emerge from a single mechanical ancestor. Tweet had already participated in experiments with more universal dice pool approaches during his earlier design work with Mark Ryan-Hagen. Those experiments formed parts of his design background, but they should not be mistaken for an early version of Over the Edge itself. The two designers went in dramatically different directions. Ryan-Hagen created Vampire the Masquerade. Tweet created Over the Edge. Both belong to a broader period in which designers were questioning some of the assumptions inherited from earlier RPGs, but Tweet pushed particularly hard towards minimalism and free-form character definition. Ghostbusters, Designed by a team including Sandy Peterson, Lynn Willis, Greg Stafford, Ghostbusters demonstrated that commercially published RPGs could use a very simple dice pool system while encouraging players and GMs to improvise rather than constantly consult detailed rules. That general direction mattered to Tweet, but Ghostbusters shouldn't be presented as though Tweet simply took its system and transformed it into Over the Edge. Here's how I would do it. The stronger picture is several experiences were pushing him towards simplicity. Earlier dice pool experimentation, exposure to unconventional RPG designs, and dissatisfaction with barriers confronting new players. An experience with games demonstrating that extensive mechanical detail wasn't necessary for role playing. Over the Edge pushed those ideas unusually far. So it's like every area that he had an issue with, this game is to go at that. Is he simply copying over systems? The way he manages every one of these are unique. So is he taking dice pool systems that are simplistic to Ghostbusters, and could you say that's an inspiration? Definitely is. Is he just stealing their gimmick and doing a Ghostbusters Over the Edge? No. And there's enough differences in how he uses the system that changes the outcome or direction that you're looking for, right? So it's very important. Small things can change an entire game. Robin D. Laws points towards Burroughs. The mechanical experimentation explains only half of Over the Edge. The other half is its strange world. Robin D. Laws played an important role in providing one of the sparks. Laws have discussed the possibilities of using William S. Burroughs' Naked Lunch as inspiration for role-playing. Tweet took the idea seriously. Burroughs became one of the most important literary influences behind what eventually became All Amarja, however you want to call it. But this wasn't simply, and that's the setting. But this wasn't simply an RPG adaptation of Naked Lunch. Tweet took inspiration from its surrealism, grotesque characters, bizarre organizations, unstable reality, and sense that conventional explanations for what is happening cannot necessarily be trusted. That attitude became fundamental to Over the Edge. This is where you get your conspiracy theory stuff from Over the Edge. Like it was on the path of the X-Files approach, and X-Files catching fire. It comes out just before that, but it's going down a very similar path in the way it presents conspiracies. Burroughs, Philip K. Dick, and Robert Anton Wilson. William S. Burroughs provides the clearest reference point, but Over the Edge fits into a broader tradition of surrealism, paranoia, and conspiracy fiction associated with writers including Philip K. Dick and Robert Anton Wilson. Each help explain the intellectual territory occupied by the game. William S. Burroughs provides the strongest surreal influence, grotesque situations, bizarre organizations, social transgressions, shifting perceptions, and reality becoming increasingly unstable. Naked Lunch was particularly important. Philip K. Dick represents another major tradition surrounding the game. What is actually real? Characters can encounter situations in which their understanding of reality becomes increasingly unreliable. An apparently insane explanation may turn out to contain the truth. The apparently rational explanation may be the deception. Robert Anton Wilson. Wilson work provides another useful reference point for the game's conspiracy atmosphere. Multiple conspiracies, contradictory explanations, secret organizations, paranoia, and competing interpretations of reality. The important element isn't simply there is a conspiracy. It is there may be dozens of conspiracies. Some may contradict each other. Several may contain pieces of truth. And understanding one conspiracy doesn't mean you understand what is actually happening. That is very much a territory occupied by Over the Edge. Interzone and Al Majura. Burroughs' Interzone provides a useful comparison with Tweet's fictional island of Al Majura. But Al Majura shouldn't be treated as a direct adaptation of the Interzone. Instead, they perform something of the same literary function. They create an artificial space where ordinary assumptions can break down. Al-Majura, the setting, allowed Tweet to place criminals, cultists, secret agents, psychics, mad scientists, conspirators, strange organizations, possible supernatural forces, and the considerably harder to classify and things considerably harder to classify into one location. And because Al Majura was fictional, Tweet wasn't constrained by political and social realities of an actual country. While the setting works, Al Amajura is a fictional Mediterranean island nation. Its principal city, the Edge, became the focal point of the game's strange activity. The design solves two problems at the same time. Players understand the surrounding modern world, but they don't know Al Amajura. That means Tweet could introduce practically anything without requiring players to learn an entirely fictional universe beforehand. A visitor arriving on the island understands what a hotel is. They understand a nightclub. They understand a police officer. They understand money. Then the game begins corrupting those expectations. A hotel may contain something impossible. A nightclub may be connected to a conspiracy. The police may be operate according to rules the visitors don't understand. The person explaining what's happening may be lying or maybe genuinely believe something completely insane. The familiar provides the foundation. Al Majera provides the distortion. Conspiracy culture before the X-Files. The publication date does matter here. Over the Edge appeared in 1992. The X-Files didn't premiere until 1993. So Over the Edge wasn't following the X-Files, nor does that mean the X-Files was following Over the Edge. Both emerged from a broader cultural environment increasingly fascinated with UFOs, government secrecy, fringe science, psychic phenomena, hidden organizations, assassination theories, cover-ups, and distrust of official explanations. Over the Edge caught that atmosphere unusually early with a tabletop role-playing game. The difference was that Al Majura allowed Tweet to take practically every paranoid possibility and ask, what if this one is true? And then, what if something even stranger is hiding underneath it? The original game was even later. One of the most revealing facts about Over the Edge is that the original home game was actually less mechanically structured than the published RPG, so the one he made for himself. Tweet's original version didn't even have conventional hit points. Damage could be handled subjectively according to what was happening in the fiction. So I did some of this freestyle stuff myself when I was young, and that worked when Tweet himself was running the game. Publication created another problem. Tweet now had to explain his judgment calls to GMs who had never played with him. He therefore added relatively simple hit point and damage structure to the commercial game because it gave other GMs concrete information about things such as how tough an opponent was supposed to be. That reveals something important about the first edition. Some of its conventional mechanics weren't necessarily there because Tweet thought every RPG inherently required them. They were there because a published RPG had to communicate procedures that Tweet had previously handled himself at his own table. The home campaign, this is for the setting, Al Majura. Before Over the Edge existed as a commercial product, Tweet was running the game for his own group in Rock Island, Illinois. The game was originally known simply as Al Majura. Tweet had also begun writing about what he was doing in Outer Rooms and Excursions, the long-running role-playing amateur press association publication. This seemingly small decision became critical to the game's history because somebody important was reading it. John Nephew. Nephews sees a game. Nephew already knew Tweet through RPG circles and had funded Atlas Games in 1990. Atlas initially concentrated heavily on publishing material associated with games belonging to the publishers, including Ars Magica material. Nephew encountered Tweet's Al Majura writing in Outer Rooms and Excursions. He saw a commercial RPG. Tweet wasn't nearly as convinced. Tweet later jokingly described Over the Edge as the role-playing game that I try to talk John Nephew Oda Publishing. The line perfectly captures the unusual birth of the game. Tweet had designed Al Majura because he thought the RPG market needed another product. He had designed it because he wanted to play it. Robin D. Laws joins the project. Robin D. Laws' involvement went beyond pointing Tweet towards burrows. Laws and Tweet corresponded about developing the game through alarums and excursions. When Al moved from Tweet's personal campaign towards commercial publication, Laws contributed material to the finished product that explained the first edition's credit Jonathan Tweet with Robin D. Laws. The distinction is important. Tweet created Over the Edge. Laws was an important contributor to the published game rather than an equal originator of the original home system. It also became one of Laws' earliest important professional RPG credits. Atlas Games takes the risk. The project was also important for Atlas Games. Atlas had been founded only a couple of years earlier. Over the Edge became Atlas Games' first original role-playing game line. That meant the publisher's identity became closely connected to the game that was anything but conventional. In 1992, the first edition of Over the Edge was released. Atlas describes the original game in terms of its free-form character generation, open setting, and elegant mechanics intended to reduce number crunching and leave more room for characters and story. My final statement here. What was radical about it in 1992? The strange conspiracies attract attention, but mechanical philosophy may be even more historically significant. Over the Edge asked, how much RPG machinery do we actually need? Instead of providing an enormous catalog of abilities, it lets players define their own traits instead of forcing character concepts through predetermined classes and skill packages. It attempted to make the mechanics conform to the character concept instead of requiring players to memorize an elaborate fictional world before creating characters. It began with a recognizable contemporary world. Instead of creating rules for every imaginable situation, it gave the GM a lightweight framework for adjudicating situations as they appeared. Even the published game's additional combat structure represented more mechanical detail than Tweet had originally needed at his own table. The result was a game built around unusually strong principle, character concept first, rules second. Now that's just for the first, for the opening there. I do have some more on the setting. Majora. But that is the history of Over the Edge, how it came to be. It was Ars Magica guy taking what he's seen with some other games, doing a home game, talking about it so he'd have something to talk about in a publication. Some guy reads it and says, you got a game. We got a game. But you really have to be into conspiracy to enjoy this. You'll recognize that more as I go through this part. As I go through this setting. We're just having a sort of Joe Rogan break before I get there. It's a crazy, 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 crazy game. But it is a lot of fun. But you can't run around like you're in Dragon Ball Z or it's just an all-out fighting game. The combat is very dangerous. You definitely don't want to be on the losing end of combat. It doesn't mean you can't do a lot of action, but your action can't all be you run up and fight people. Just be my first piece of advice. Don't try to fight everybody. The game will hack you down really quickly. Doesn't mean you can't pull a lot of things off, but you can deal with a lot of weirdness without needing to fight something. And tactical game doesn't always mean fighting either. I mean, it might be action, but it's like, how can you trap something? How can you take visibility away from something? Like, there's always activities around the action that don't have to have you swing. So consider that when you're in games where it doesn't mean the game is opposed to action in a general sense. It's not like even D&D from levels 1 to 3, you should not be fighting. That doesn't mean action itself to neat ideas can't be applied, like blocking a pathway so an enemy can't get to you, right? Like it's or setting off a trap so the enemies run into the trap early on. Fair enough. Fair enough, baby. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Okay. Let's get to this setting. Okay. The setting of Al Amarja. Welcome. Over the Edge takes place primarily on Al Amarja, a fictional independent island nation in the Mediterranean. This is recognizably the modern world of the early 1990s. The United States exists, Europe exists, cars, guns, telephones, airports, corporations, governments, television, and modern technology exist. But Al Amajara is where the normal world starts coming apart. The island is filled with secret societies, conspiracies, psychic phenomena, mutants, weird science, supernatural threats, criminals, cults, and organizations whose true purpose may be completely different from what they appear to be. Oh, the free form making up the characters, coming up with like how you want their traits to be. Yeah, there's so much creativity in there, and I like how here's where I think he learned is don't be opposed to free form thinking and applying. Actually, if you become friendly to it, you can start seeing how you can benefit it instead of working against it. When you realize there's a lot of potential in the tool of make shit up and go, you realize that sometimes a little bit of structure in the vein of making shit up and going helps some people that are less creative. And so he figured that out. I think that's a big secret for it's not just that players can make shit up, it's that players have a structure where it's clear what they got to do to make something up. Right. So you realize you have some creativity. And yes, making it up and coming up with concepts. And then the game master is given a ton of freedom because right away, what the game designer realizes they're doing, which is smart, is making a game where, okay, the players can screw with you in 50 million different ways. So if I limit you and I don't give you tools for all these different ways, you won't know what to do. So instead of giving you exact tools for all this stuff, I'm going to give you tools to just deal with anything and then make it that's mainly what you're doing. You're a deal with anything game master. So let alone it becomes sandbox improvised play. It's a forced improvised version of playing D game. But what they're going to do is if you just follow the rhythm as a game master, they're just forcing you to become someone who improvises and uses the tools they've given you to make decisions. And they just want to get used to it. Last was traveling salesman who unknowingly to him had a bomb implanted in his skull. Isn't that fucking beautiful, baby? It's meant to be that way too. I'm glad it inspires players because it's meant to be a weird place to begin with, not just that your characters are weird. So the game isn't saying come up, you freak us out. No, it's saying this is what we want. And game and your mindset's so different too as a player. Think about when you're making up crazy characters like that. Yeah, if you want to blow me up, go ahead. And it's not because he's just giving up on the game or he thinks the character will suck. He's going to have fun. But it's almost like the setting itself can make you, if you play into the craziness, make you a little crazy, which is good. I love Al Majora for that reason. The important thing is that Over the Edge doesn't provide one universal explanation for everything strange. This isn't necessarily a world where aliens explain everything, magic explains everything, psychic powers explain everything. Different impossible things can exist alongside one another. That uncertainty is fundamental to Al and Majura. This is what you're talking about, like with your group of guys. How can they be? It just says anything is possible, and that's sort of the insanity. But it does it in a setting where here's what I like. DK, I always tell people, I do not like Gonzo. Meaning, I don't like the setting. I don't like the setting to be Gonzo. I like the place to be serious with Gonzo things that can happen. And my best example of the improvement of that type of take is go back to the old original Dawn of the Dead movie and then watch, I think it's the 2005 version of the Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead, back in decades ago, was a comic book bubblegum chewing movie, right? Very comic book character, very artificial characters. The 2005 version is simply zombies in a world that's really truly relatable and not something just in the comic book. And because of the reality twist that was applied to Dawn of the Dead, I think that inspired a lot of things we've seen going forward. But it also tells you that in the serious, something is crazier than crazy. So imagine you're in the normal world, but here's a crazy thing happening. Or even the funny. I find funny is more funny when you're in a serious setting where the ridiculous funny thing happens. It's even more funny. Like if you're just doing a parody game, yeah, everything's going to be whatever, right? But if you're doing a serious game and something retarded funny happens, there's a quality to it. The island, Al Amarjara, is an independent Mediterranean island nation with its own government, culture, and society. Several locations appear throughout the setting, including Skyla, uh, Trebok, Freedom City, and Mount Raelius. But most important location for Over the Edge is unquestionably the Edge. The island's relatively contained geography is perfect for the game. Al Majura can be packed with conspiracies, organizations, strange people, and impossible events while remaining a location characters can explore. It becomes a pressure cooker. Everyone wants something. Everyone knows something, and almost nobody understands the entire picture. The Edge. The Edge is the primary urban playground for Over the Edge. This is where El Majira's different worlds collide. Tourists mix with locals, criminals mix with government officials, conspirators mix with the ordinary people, psychics, eccentrics, researchers, artists, cultists, and people who may not entirely or may not be entirely human can occupy the same streets. At first glance, the Edge can resemble an unusually chaotic modern city. There are hotels, bars, restaurants, nightclubs, businesses, streets, government officials, criminals, tourists, and everything else expected from a contemporary urban life. But normality is only the surface. The longer someone remains in the Edge, the more likely they are to encounter something that doesn't fit their understanding of the world. Arriving on Al Amarjura. The island works particularly well when seen through the eyes of an outsider. Someone arrives expecting an eccentric Mediterranean country. The airport and surrounding environment introduces them to a place where familiar institutions exist but don't necessarily operate according to familiar expectations. That's one of the setting's strongest tricks. El Majora doesn't necessarily introduce itself with a monster attacks you. It can begin much more quietly. Something doesn't seem right. Someone behaves strangely. An explanation doesn't quite make sense. Another person provides a completely different explanation. Then the characters discover that one of those explanations may actually be true. The familiar gradually becomes unfamiliar. Her exaltedness, Monique D. Her exaltedness, Monique D. Bayan. I'm never going to say her name. Major is ruled by her Exaltness, Manique. Manique is both the island's supposed liberator and its authoritarian ruler. That creates one of the great contradictions at the heart of Al-Majaran society. Al-Majara has a reputation for personal permissiveness, experimentation, and vice, but politically it is not a liberal democracy. It is a dictatorship. The government maintains power while allowing Al-Majara to cultivate its reputation as a place where people can do things that would be restricted or socially unacceptable elsewhere. That tension between personal permissiveness and political authoritarianism is deliberately part of the island's identity. Get your head out of politics today. This is a game made in 1992. Freedom City. Freedom City is the capital and seat of the Exaltedness' government. The name itself fits the contradictions running through Al-Majara. A country ruled by an authoritarian government places its political center in the city called Freedom City. The capital represents an institutional side of Al-Majara, the government, administration, and the people exercising official power. It contrasts with the more chaotic cosmopolitan, the weirdness associated with over the edge, or with the edge. Say over the edge. But official government doesn't necessarily mean normality. On Al-Jamera, the government is another participant in an already complicated struggle for power. A permissive society. Al-Majara attracts outsiders partly because of its reputation. Things restricted elsewhere may be tolerated on the island. That makes it attractive to tourists, criminals, artists, eccentrics, researchers, runaways, adventurers, fringe thinkers, mercenaries, journalists, business people, investigators, and people looking for experiences that they can't easily find elsewhere. That permissiveness serves an important purpose for the RPG. Almost any character concept can plausibly end up on Al-Majara. The character doesn't have to know anything about the island's deeper secrets. They simply need a reason to come here. Once they arrive, the setting takes over. The counterculture. One of the most important elements of Over the Edge is its early 1990s counterculture atmosphere. You can understand, you got to go back in the time. I'm not talking about, don't think in now terms. Atlas describes the game in terms of counterculture, conspiracy, weird science, and urban danger. Al-Majara isn't simply a conventional horror setting where investigators hunt monsters. The island attracts people operating outside of mainstream society, artists, fringe intellectuals, and people deliberately rejecting conventional expectations. The Edge feels like a place where society's outsiders have collected together. Some are harmless, some are dangerous, some are brilliant, some are completely insane. And occasionally the person everyone believes is insane knows something important. That counterculture is essential to the game's identity. The Movers. The Movers are one of Al-Majara's major conspiratorial forces. They seek to stabilize society and operate through cells and layers of manipulation. They embody one of the setting's central questions: who is actually controlling events? A person might believe they're acting independently. Someone else may have maneuvered them into that position. That person may themselves be manipulated by someone higher up. The Movers turn conspiracy into chains of influence. Understanding one link doesn't necessarily reveal who is actually pulling the strings. The Neutralizers. The Neutralizers deal with supernatural threats. At first, that sounds reassuring. These are people who understand that supernatural things exist and attempt to fight them. The problem is that Al-Majara contains levels of awareness capable of leaving even experienced supernatural hunters completely out of their depth. Knowing that monsters exist doesn't mean you understand monsters. Knowing that supernatural phenomena are real doesn't mean you understand the supernatural. The Neutralizers demonstrate an important principle of the setting. Knowing more doesn't necessarily mean knowing enough. The Glorious Lords. The Glorious Lords demonstrate the opposite side of Al-Majara's conspiratorial world. They present themselves using satanic imagery and attempt to appear much more ominous than they actually are. Behind the presentation, they are essentially thuggish, muscle, masquerading as something more impressive. That makes them important because Al Majora constantly encourages paranoia. Players can easily begin assuming every organization must secretly be incredibly powerful. The glorious lords undermine that assumption. Sometimes the terrifying conspiracy really is terrifying. Sometimes it's hiding something worse. And sometimes it's a bunch of dangerous idiots wearing frightening costumes. The cut-ups. The cut-ups are amongst the clearest examples of William S. Burroughs' influence becoming part of the actual setting. Their name reference the cut-up technique associated with Burroughs. But Over the Edge takes that literary idea and makes it part of its surreal world. The cut-ups are associated with resisting systems of control and with the possibility of cutting, rearranging, and manipulating reality itself. They aren't simply another criminal organization fighting over territory. Their struggles operate at more of a fundamental level. Reality can become part of the battlefield. This is where Over the Edge begins moving beyond conspiracy thriller and into outright surrealism. Surrealism. With all these elements together, Al Majara can sound like a collection of random, bizarre ideas. But Over the Edge isn't simply random, weird stuff happens. The better description is surrealism and paranoia. Something strange happens. The characters investigate. They discover an explanation. That explanation reveals something stranger. Someone else appears to have manipulated the situation. Then new information forces characters to reconsider what they previously thought was true. The weirdness creates an uncertainty. That's different from randomness. El Majura is constantly asked what is actually happening and how much of what you learn can we trust. They enter Al Majura. Then they discover what happens. Al Majura in one picture. Imagine arriving on a Mediterranean island in 1992. You're expecting beaches, hotels, nightlife, and a country with a reputation for permissiveness. Instead, you discover a strange contradiction. The country talks about freedom. It's ruled by a dictator. The person drinking beside you may be a tourist, or a criminal, or a psychic, or a government agent, or a member of a secret organization, or even something that isn't quite human. Someone tells you that a conspiracy controls the island. They're probably paranoid. Unfortunately, the conspiracy actually exists, but they're wrong about what it wants. Another organization is manipulating it. Someone else is attempting to destroy both of them. A supernatural hunter tells you they understand what's happening. They don't. The satanic cult looks terrifying. They're mostly thugs. The harmless lunatic on the corner sounds completely insane. He might be the person who's closest to the truth. And eventually you'll realize that the argument over who secretly controls Al Majura might be missing the bigger question. Might be missing the bigger question. What exactly is reality on Al Majura, and how much of it can you actually trust? That's the setting of 1992's Over the Edge. There is my overview of Over the Edge. Dice system again, very simple stuff. If you're like looking at your traits or skills and you're rolling, you'll be rolling mostly against a target number. If you're not competent at something and not skilled, not talented at it, you'll roll it a 2d6. Usually it's a number you can reach. It could be like 10, 11, something like that. It'd be 2d6. If you're competent at something, you're at least somewhat trained or talented in it, you'll have 3d6. On occasion, you can get more dice, but say you get a bonus. So say that a GM wants to give you a bonus. It's a complete sandbox. It's a complete sandbox. And it actually backs me up, DK. Remember when I said there's the old school is sandbox? You don't really have the normal plot hooks. We're talking about, say, Traveler. Over the Edge came out in 1992, and the guy rediscovered what we already knew from Traveler and AD&D. Man, we don't need plot hooks. We can just make shit up as we go. And it works. And we all can do it. That was his big secret discovery. he makes over the edge where you are like a traveler GM. You don't need to set up much to start. Just like and a lot of stuff is already set up for you. So that's a little convenient. So you don't, but it's still all random. And the game persists that you make changes to anything you want, like in a setting, like you don't want an NPC there, put somebody else there. The game just really wants you to have complete freedom and just improvise. The whole game is improvising heavy DK, but they're tricking you. Like I tell you directly what you can do, right? That's why I explain sandboxing the way I do. A game like this is pushing you towards exactly what I'm explaining without always saying it directly to you. It's like it has to trick you to the point of getting there and realizing, yes, you could just make shit up, dude. And making shit up doesn't mean that's all you do. That's not the complete package of making shit up. See, that's people simplify things too much. I might go in on that first session making stuff up because I don't know what you're going to do or where you're going to go. I'm going to develop that stuff and take it all serious and make it something very deep and real and constructed through time, through between sessions, through time we're on a break, or even during the session itself when you're doing other things. I'm considering what I want to do with this. You making shit up becomes, it's almost like it's getting fed into a structure you're creating with it. So you think of the game like an experimentation where the randomness is not throwaway because it will build a bigger picture. It won't just be repetitive nonsense. It will build a bigger picture, but you got to have a game master that wants to do the work too. You never play a campaign where you never leave where Amarja Airport. Mm-hmm. I get what you're saying. Like you could have so much happen just in the airport, just with you guys there, that you could, you can get away with doing 30, 40 sessions. For real. It's like suddenly you're like, okay, there's nothing but mist outside. You can't leave right now. Like, what? Huh? Next thing you find out, there's something underneath. There's even a gateway to another place completely. Like a flip side of the airport. And it's made for that. It's made exactly for that. And for you to have characters that won't get freaked out like they're modern people, you get to play people that are crazy for the crazy. So it's a weird way of making a fantasy world exist inside of the real world. And then put real world norms, and that's what they're talking about there, DK, is the game is going to seem weird because it does give you an image of normalcy and even layers of normalcy amongst the insanity. But the insanity is not insane here. It's made with the perfect. It won't be laughed at. It will be like people are accustomed to the crazy in the place you're in. So you're walking around with a goblin, like, well, here you can do that. And right away you would know if you're seeing an outsider come in. What the fuck? What are you? And I purposely had those situations happen where people would beat people outside of the place. And it's that surreal of what the fuck? What are you? The skill system is actually quite neat and easy. I like the dice system. It's meant to be light and simplistic, but it's that freedom to make it up and realize that that's not bad. And for really talented guys, making it all up pure is good, right? But let's be real, DK. Not everybody can just do that, but it doesn't mean they can't make stuff up. So it's like, how do you help the average person who isn't that creative get that creativity out of them? I like the trait system, like you said, making characters up. because it gives you an explanation that makes it easy for you to understand, so you can get rid of general thinking and think towards what it is you want. And if you got a good game master, they'll help you even further with it. Like, it's what a trade is, right? It's it. Yep. hmm Well, guns are forbidden, but there's a lot of criminals. So it's like a game where there's a lot of guns. It's just harder to have them, like publicly. You can do drugs all day. Yep, that's pretty crazy in the game. But I like, it's for a game. The craziness is good. For the real world, it's not good. But for a game, it's good to, if you're trying to do what they're trying to do here. So, and I remind people before they read too much into it, it's made for 1992. This is not people thinking of modern day situations. But it doesn't mean the conspiracies and the insanity isn't something relatable, because it's all the insanity that they're talking about all comes from ideas from the real world. So I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I liked Over the Edge a lot. It was a good game. A lot of freedom. You're in the modern world. It's great for conspiracy. Has a great weird place that is messed up in every possible way you could ever think of. I definitely want more people to look into it. I myself enjoyed it a lot. I ran the first edition. That's what I did. First edition of the game Over the Edge. And so I've not checked out the other editions that follow, but I love first edition. And I would say if you had that, you really wouldn't need the rest. You wouldn't need the rest. Now, tomorrow the stream is probably going to be quite a bit longer. Third edition in the setting Eberron. Third edition D&D. And I'm going to go just pure the core books, and then we're going to jump into, well, I might do more. I have a lot written down for third edition. But yeah. Eberron third edition. Okay. Oh, good. Well, that is it for tonight, guys, for this coverage of this game. I will definitely put in some more time for tomorrow's stream, but I'm happy to get this one done. Tomorrow's stream is going to be, again, third edition and Eberron. Third edition and Eberron. And if you're members, become a member. You'll get Most Guard RPG this Monday. There's a lot of members only streams coming up, right? So it's worth your time. Become a member. Help me get another cat. Yeah, but yes, the support is quite needed. Helps out a lot, right? Definitely inspires me to want to do a lot more work here, no doubt. It just helps out with a lot of small things that are going on here in life, so that would be good. Okay. Oh, you'll know by the time I'm done. Okay. I love you guys.